So hi everyone, I'm RG. I'm the CEO of Reppo Labs. Um, so what we're going to talk about today is how a lot of innovation has happened in agent building launchpads and data layers and compute, but we haven't heard a lot of innovation happen in the capital formation, aka how essentially capital formation happens in the age of AI. What we've seen so far is tokenization of AI agents, but that pretty much results in meme coins. So we're going to talk about how we can explore different mechanisms. So we're starting with this thesis that traditional VC investing in the AI app layer is essentially a boomer concept, and a lot of the data that we see today backs this thesis that most of the VC Web3 investment goes to infra. It's essentially the same cycle investing into L1s or some sort of infra, and essentially we're essentially going through these circles. And according to metrics, the funding for AI apps specifically is extremely low. Um, and at the same time, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of interest from retail to actually get a slice. Unfortunately, I couldn't point out to any Web3 protocol that I can say can give you a meaningful exposure to the innovation happening in the app layer. Most of that exists in the Web2 world. We have Perplexity, ChatGPT, the big names. But unless you have $1 billion, you can forget about getting exposure to any of that. And so what we're building at Reppo is a way for for anyone to. Oh, sorry. No. Yeah. So at Reppo, what we're building is a way for anyone to essentially participate and directly work and invest in the apps and agents that are being built. So these are the two key innovations that we have developed. We have developed a VE tokenomics version where you can essentially you lock in some repo tokens and essentially vote for your favorite projects and essentially get revenue share certificates, which I'll walk you through in the coming slides. And additionally, we've built out two exchanges. One is a data exchange. You just heard people talk about how data is the new meta, as well as infra exchange. So the way those work is these act as a middleware solution. So we aggregate existing data layers and existing infra layers. So let's dive into it. I want to talk about what FCUs are. So FCUs essentially are represented by an NFT. They represent on-chain claims to revenue share certificates. Essentially, the way they work, let's start with the build review. So we don't care where you build your agent. You can build your agent on a Web2 platform, Web3 platform. Simply import your AI agent, issue an FCU against it, and you start becoming eligible for votes. And on the other side, this is what it would look like. Right now, we're integrating with some of the biggest names, Repplate, Lovable. There's a Web3 project called OXApp. We're also talking to the folks at Recall. So essentially, the way this would look like is on any of these platforms, you can build an AI agent and just say list on Reppo. Once you list on Reppo, on the other side, what can happen is you lock the tokens, you gain the voting power. If you're familiar with the VE tokenomics model, it's essentially that. You vote for the apps and agents that you like, and essentially you get revenue share. So something key to note here is that if you're building an AI app or agent, you're not giving up equity in that AI asset. Essentially, you're saying that, hey, here's a 6-month certificate. I want $10,000, and this certificate expires in 6 months. So that's sort of like the main thing we're building. And so right now, if you go to repo.xyz, we have a more kind of like clear beta product. But essentially, this would look like is you'll have multiple AI projects that you can filter through categories. So healthcare, finance, education, what have you. And essentially, you can click on them, vote for them, and repeat the cycle. The way we kind of see this as traditional VC models is that traditional VC model is very much gatekeeping focused. It's like one-off, and it values a lot of connections over merit. Versus here, everything is on chain. You're able to kind of like see, and essentially verify like the metrics and the revenue that people are reporting. A lot of this is coming out from the fact that what we're seeing today is someone can build an AI app over a weekend, and what we're seeing is people are making like in some cases 100K or 1 million ARR or MRR within a month. So in that kind of world, it doesn't make sense to only have VC investing as a meta. And so if you're a builder, essentially once Reppo is live, this is what it would look like. You can develop your AI, connect to Reppo, earn emissions, and within one click, you can start raising for your app or agent. So just to close the loop, the way we think about it is the model looks a lot like BitTensor in the sense that you're getting emissions. I'll make a comparison in the next slide of how we compare to BitTensor. But the way it works is you get token emissions as a builder. You can spend those token emissions on a data exchange, which is currently live on repo.exchange, or you can go to an infra exchange, which essentially gives you access to GPUs, TPUs, inference endpoints, and whatnot. And a really key important part here is the burn mechanisms, which we get into, like how we're thinking about value accrual to the token. If you're interested in that part, we just released a white paper on our website yesterday, so check it out. So talking about BitTensor, I think the biggest challenges that we saw in the BitTensor ecosystem are three. The first one being a very high cost of entry. Give or take, right now it takes about $40,000 to start to essentially put your project on BitTensor. On Reppo, that is determined by an auction-based mechanism. So right now, from our kind of simulations, it costs anywhere from like $100 to $300 to come on Reppo. The biggest challenge in BitTensor, which the ecosystem has tried to address recently, is through the DTAO, which is a validator-based mechanism. So as I mentioned, we're taking a VE tokenomics approach. So the community is essentially governing where the emissions are going, instead of a set of validators deciding where the emissions or which projects get the emissions. And the third, from my perspective, on BitTensor, because the space is limited, you can be ejected without cause. I believe right now it's about 54 subnets. I might be wrong, but the way it works is, if your subnet isn't performing well, which is still being decided by a centralized set of factors, you can be ejected. So we're solving for all those three. And then a big part here is that you can build your AI agent or app anywhere. We don't force you to build it on Reppo. You can, build on a Web2 framework, Web3 framework, wherever. So and then the last point I want to mention is that the way we're building this is once you import your app or agent to Reppo, you can essentially fork it. So we have an integration with Story Protocol. You can assign IP rights to the app or agent and allow other people within the Reppo ecosystem to build on top of your app or agent. So yeah, check out the white paper. We're going to release a testnet in about 2 weeks. And then we're also launching a node sale. Yeah, open to questions.